I never thought my wedding day would be the day my life cracked open, not with joy, but with fear so sharp it felt like truth cutting through skin. People think they know what a wedding looks like. White flowers, smiles, applause. But no one prepares you for the moment you realize you are standing at the center of a stage you never auditioned for, wearing a role you spent your whole life running from. This is not a fantasy. This is not a joke. This is the day my wife turned me into the bride, and the moment I was forced to finally see myself. It started weeks before the wedding, quietly, the way disasters always do. My wife, Sarah, became calm in a way that scared me more than anger ever could. Too polite. Too controlled. She had found something. I knew it the moment she stopped asking questions. You see, I had a secret I thought was buried deep enough to never surface. Hidden photos. A locked folder. Clothes I told myself were just curiosity, just stress, just a phase. I loved Sarah, truly. But I had never loved myself enough to be honest. The night she confronted me, she didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just placed her phone on the table, turned it toward me, and let silence do the damage. There I was. Dressed in soft fabric. Makeup imperfect but hopeful. A version of me I only allowed to exist when the door was locked and the lights were low. My heart stopped. I waited for her to leave. For disgust. For hatred. Instead, she smiled. Not warmly. Strategically. So this is who you are, she said softly. And you were going to marry me without letting me meet her. I tried to speak. I tried to explain. I failed. Fear makes you small. And that was the moment the power shifted. She didn't cancel the wedding. She leaned into it. Over the next days, she made suggestions. Small at first. You should trust me more. Let me handle everything. I was too relieved she hadn't left to notice the trap forming around me. Then came the dress fittings. She said her gown had issues. She asked me to go with her to the boutique. The consultant smiled at me in a way that made my stomach twist. Sarah squeezed my hand a little too tight. Actually, she said, we need to try something different. I laughed nervously. Until the dress was placed in my hands. I said no. I swear I did. I told her this wasn't funny. That she was crossing a line. But she leaned in and whispered words that froze my blood. If you walk away, I show everyone who you really are. If you stay, you do exactly as I say. Love, fear, shame, history, they all collided inside me. I agreed to one fitting. Just one. I told myself it was survival. I told myself it didn't mean anything. But when the zipper closed, when the mirror faced me, something terrifying happened. I didn't see a joke. I saw someone real. My hands shook. My breathing changed. The room felt smaller, louder, brighter. The consultant clapped. Sarah watched me like she had won something. I felt humiliated. Exposed. And somewhere beneath all that, understood. From that moment on, the plan was set. Invitations went out. Arrangements finalized. Everyone thought Sarah was the bride. No one questioned it. Why would they? The night before the wedding, Sarah laid the dress on the bed. My dress. She brushed my hair slowly, methodically, like she was sculpting her revenge. Tomorrow, she said, you stop hiding. I cried when she turned off the light. Not because I was wearing a dress, but because I knew once the doors opened, there would be no running back to who I pretended to be. And as I lay there, heart pounding, one thought refused to leave my mind. What if this wasn't just her revenge? What if this was the truth finally demanding to be seen? Morning came without permission. I didn't wake up refreshed, I woke up exposed, like the night had stripped something off me I could never put back on. The room was quiet except for my own breathing, uneven and shallow, as if my body already knew today would change everything. The dress was hanging near the window, white fabric catching the light, innocent and cruel at the same time. I stared at it for a long moment, hoping it would disappear if I didn't look long enough. It didn't. Sarah knocked once before entering. She looked radiant, calm, powerful. Not the nervous bride everyone expects, but someone in control of a story she had already finished writing. She didn't ask how I felt. She already knew. She handed me a cup of tea, fixed my posture, and spoke like today was just another task on her list. "People are arriving soon," she said. No more hesitation. I wanted to run. I imagined grabbing my phone, calling everything off, confessing to everyone at once just to end the tension. But fear doesn't let you be brave in straight lines. Fear curves your spine. Fear makes you obey. She helped me get ready with unsettling precision. The makeup was gentle, almost respectful. Not exaggerated. Not mocking. That scared me more than cruelty would have. Each brush stroke felt like a question I had avoided my whole life. Each pin in my hair felt like a decision being locked into place. I caught my reflection again, and this time I didn't look away. I looked, complete. And that thought terrified me. "You look beautiful," Sarah said. There was no sarcasm. No warmth either. Just truth delivered like a verdict. The doorbell rang. Voices filled the house. Laughter. Music. My parents. Her parents. Friends who had known me as someone else for years. Every step toward the ceremony felt like walking toward a confession written on my skin. My heart was screaming, but my feet kept moving. When the music started, everything slowed. Sarah took her place near the front, dressed not as a bride, but in a simple elegant suit. Heads turned. Confusion rippled through the room like a quiet storm. Then the doors opened behind me. And there I was. Gasps. Whispers. Silence so loud it pressed against my ears. I walked forward, holding a bouquet meant for me, wearing a name people weren't ready to give me. I couldn't see faces clearly through the tears building in my eyes, but I felt every stare like heat. I expected laughter. I expected someone to stop it. But no one did. My father stood frozen. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Friends looked away, not out of disgust, but because they didn't know where to place their empathy. And in the middle of it all, I felt something shift. Shame didn't own me anymore. I reached the altar and stood across from Sarah. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time since she found my secret, her expression cracked. Not regret. Recognition. The officiant hesitated, then continued. Words about love, honesty, partnership floated around us, ironic and heavy. When it came time for vows, Sarah spoke first. "You hid yourself from me," she said, voice steady. "And that broke me. Today, you stand here with nothing hidden. This is my revenge. And my truth." Then it was my turn. My voice shook, but I spoke. I spoke about fear. About pretending. About loving her while being afraid of myself. I didn't ask for forgiveness. I didn't explain. I just told the truth, for once, in front of everyone. By the time I finished, the room wasn't silent anymore. It was breathing with me. The kiss didn't happen. Instead, Sarah took my hand and raised it slightly, not as a victory, but as an acknowledgement. "You survived," she whispered. But survival was only the beginning. Because the real question hadn't been answered yet. After today, who was I allowed to be? The ceremony ended without applause, but with something heavier, something real. People didn't know whether to clap, cry, or leave, so they did all three in small, awkward waves. Chairs scraped the floor. Someone dropped a glass. Life kept moving even though mine felt like it had paused mid-breath. Sarah released my hand and for the first time that day, I felt cold, like I had been unplugged from the only thing keeping me upright. The reception hall felt different when I entered as the bride everyone hadn't prepared for. Conversations stopped when I passed, then slowly restarted behind my back. I caught fragments of sentences, confusion mixed with concern, curiosity tangled with pity. But something unexpected happened too. A friend from college met my eyes and smiled, not politely, but genuinely. An aunt squeezed my arm and whispered, "You were very brave." Brave. No one had ever used that word for me before. Sarah stayed distant, not cruel, just observant, like she was watching an experiment reach its final stage. I wanted to hate her for what she had done. I tried. But emotions don't follow orders. She had exposed me in the most terrifying way possible, yes. But she had also removed my ability to keep lying. And that truth sat uncomfortably inside me. My parents finally approached. My mother was shaking. My father looked older than he had that morning. He asked one simple question, voice breaking, "Are you happy?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I didn't know yet. So I told him that. And somehow, that honesty softened his face more than a rehearsed lie ever could. Later, alone in a quiet corner, I finally let myself feel everything. The anger. The relief. The grief for the man I pretended to be. The strange, fragile hope for the person I might become. I looked down at the dress, now wrinkled, stained with the reality of the day, and understood something that made my chest ache. This wasn't a costume anymore. It was a mirror. Sarah joined me then. No audience. No power play. Just two people exhausted by truth. "I didn't want to destroy you," she said quietly. "I wanted you to stop running." I asked her if she still loved me. She didn't answer right away. That hurt more than a no would have. "I don't know who you are yet," she said finally. "But neither do you. And I couldn't keep loving a ghost." We didn't dance. We didn't pose for photos. The wedding ended not with celebration, but with acceptance of uncertainty. People left. The lights dimmed. And I changed out of the dress slowly, carefully, like saying goodbye to something sacred. But when I folded it, I didn't feel relief. I felt loss. That night, alone, I stood in front of the mirror again, without makeup, without ceremony, without an audience. And I realized the most frightening part of the day wasn't being seen. It was knowing I could never unsee myself. Because once the truth steps into the light, it doesn't go back into the dark quietly. And the final choice was still waiting for me. The days after the wedding were quieter than I expected. No dramatic fallout. No viral scandal. Just long silences, unanswered messages, and the strange weight of waking up as someone who had been witnessed. Sarah and I stayed in the same house for a while, moving around each other like strangers who shared a history but no longer shared a script. The dress was gone, packed away carefully, but its presence lingered in everything I did. People started talking to me differently. Not everyone, but enough. Some avoided me. Some asked questions they didn't know how to finish. And a few, the ones that mattered, spoke to me with a softness that felt like permission. Permission to exist without explaining myself every second. One evening, Sarah sat across from me at the kitchen table. No anger left. No strategy. Just honesty, raw and unpolished. "I thought forcing you would make me feel powerful," she said. "But all it did was show me how scared you were. And how brave." She told me she wasn't sure we could stay married. Not because of how I looked in a dress, but because both of us had been hiding, in different ways. I didn't beg her to stay. For the first time in my life, I didn't beg to be chosen. Instead, I told her thank you. Not for the pain. But for the moment everything stopped being a lie. We separated quietly, with respect, not revenge. The world didn't end. My family didn't disappear. Life adjusted, awkwardly, slowly, but honestly. I began therapy. I began talking. I began allowing myself to explore who I was without shame dictating every step. Some days I felt strong. Some days I felt terrified. Both were real. I didn't become a bride again. I didn't throw away who I had been either. I learned that identity isn't a switch, it's a conversation you have with yourself over and over again. And that wedding day, as cruel as it felt, was the first time I stopped interrupting that conversation. Sometimes I still think about the walk down the aisle. The silence. The fear. The moment I realized everyone was looking at me, and I was still standing. Still breathing. Still here. I was forced to be the bride at my own wedding. But no one forced me to finally be honest.